gunshot? I think we captured another gunshot on film. Hi, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is Chris and Cassie, again with SONday Chronicles. Mm-hmm. Chris just thinks he's like the funniest person ever, and I just don't get his sense of humor. You going somewhere with this?
Yeah.
I think I need to move that. Is it like shining in my face a little bit?
That was Mark Cuban.
Oh, okay, cool. Tell Mark I said hi.
He said he loves the show and he wants to be a guest one day. So I said, cool.
Well, that's fun. Anyways, this is SONday Chronicles, episode 36.
37.
Oh, I put 36 on there. Shoot. Well, if this is episode 37, I'll fix that when we're done. But we've entitled this one, The Book Heard Around the World, as well as Understanding Life. So we're going to be talking about the Fire and Fury book by Michael Wolff a little bit. Chris has some things he wants to say about that. And then we'll be talking about an understanding of life in 5 minutes. So kind of everything we've come to everything Chris has come to understand about life. I have no idea what he's talking about.
It's tonight. An understanding, yeah. It's just
an understanding, just a viewpoint.
Yeah, just right? It's my my take. But the irony of this show is unbelievable. It's very, very thick because we're going to go from one to the other.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's get started.
Michael Wolff just wrote a book, and it is entitled Fire and Fury. And the reason I want to talk about this book is because it's the material world of what's going on with the world right now and the shift that's going to be occurring. And I honestly believe that this book was the catalyst.
Yeah.
And
we've always talked about this happening, but not knowing how this shift was really going to push.
How was it going to go down? Well, I'll be damned if this didn't occur. So, I feel it. I'm feeling it as I say it that this book is that catalyst, and how it came about is the trippiest part. Those of you who don't know, Michael Wolff was a reporter for a magazine, and he had written an article that was it was about Trump, but it was a positive spin on it. Trump looked really good so he thought, on the front cover of that magazine with a positive article in it about him. And Wolff asked, can I tag along with you guys? And I'll be damned if Trump didn't let him for 18 months. And so during this 18-month time span, he interviewed all of the top staffers. This is before everybody left. Everybody except for 3 or 4 of them are still there. But he interviewed everybody and has audio of everybody, and has now made it into a book. I honestly believe I honestly believe that this book could get a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm serious. It could be one of those books that, this book alone is going to change history. And
it's almost like, I don't even know if this is accurate, because Chris really does kind of keep up with just more of this in your observations and what's going on. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like a Watergate feeling,
I think I think it's fascinating to observe the material world and to observe the selfish route.
Because I don't think, I sometimes give Chris a hard time, not a hard time, but I don't really follow this as closely, but you are completely detached or not attached to it.
No.
It's just interesting.
For me, it's observation of humanity. You have to, you
have to view it that way, or otherwise you will literally go crazy.
I'm learning about humanity, and that's what I find and I always say, as far as political I don't give a fuck.
We don't have an affiliation. I don't. He doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not affiliated with the liberals, and I'm not affiliated with the conservatives. If there's anybody out there that is out there fighting for the people, it's Bernie Sanders. And if y'all must have a person in that office, in my opinion, he's for the people, and he's in there swinging every day, fighting for the people. So there's no political. I don't give a fuck. I just think it's fascinating to watch this guy.
It is definitely fascinating to observe. I mean, we have sat back and watched this and talked about it.
Yeah.
And it's just been. And we have no emotional ties to it, and I think that's an important thing that's helped me even deal with what's going on. I don't have to deal with it. It's just a happening that's happening around me. I'm unattached from this systematic matrix that's happening. Yeah. But it has to happen this way. So what have you seen with the book in relation to life and all of that?
Yeah, well, the first part about it is that Trump allowed it. Now he's got his lawyers putting a cease and desist on it because it's real.
There would be no reaction, even if it was. I feel like if it was tarnishing my name, in whatever way, there's a way to go about it besides name calling and all these things. Yeah. If it was not true, you know?
And
really to have a group of 18 people band together or 200 people band together and say the same thing.
There are 200 people on his staff, and there were 200 interviews.
But it's all going to be about perspective in general. Some people who are still big supporters of this man, which we're going to talk about, they're like, people really think this isn't real. My heart tells me it's true.
Sure.
And again, you know the truth by how your heart feels, how it feels. And so, again, this is what we're going to
I mean, if you can't put two and two together and say, Trump allowed this guy in for 18 months. He has audio recordings of, and I have a list of. I'm going to read through here.
Just read a few.
So first, what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through about 5 names, and I don't know any of these people because I wasn't familiar with Trump's staff, but those that are familiar with it will know. And these are all people. So Sam Nunberg, Trump advisor. This is the most interesting one of them all, I think. Sam Nunberg was a senior Trump advisor, tried to teach Trump the Constitution of the United States of America. And his words were, he got to the Fourth Amendment and couldn't go forward with learning it. And his word or his description of Donald Trump is he is a fucking fool. Like, this is a senior advisor to the president. Rupert Murdoch, everybody knows that name. What a fucking moron. That's comes straight out of this book. Rex Tillerson, who is the big dog at ExxonMobil, came to do whatever he's doing for Trump now. Rex Tillerson, moron. Gary Cohn, dumb as shit. H.R. McMaster, a hopeless idiot. Steve Bannon says about Trump, he has lost his mind. And I'm not saying these things because I have compassion for Trump. I've said this before and I'll say it again. He doesn't know, man. He has no idea.
Best lessons, even though I do not personally know this person, one of the best lessons in compassion, because I just didn't understand at first when Chris was like, I have compassion for this guy. And then I eventually have compassion. I eventually personally found compassion for him because he, like you said,
you feel sorry for him, and he hasn't. He does now. He knows now. He thinks. It's just that smugness that he still carries with him.
Well, every episode that we've talked about the 2 paths of life, he's taken opposite of of inner peace and selflessness. So he's a great example of
the selfish route.
One way to live your life, and what occurs when you reap what you sow. You live your life, and we're about to see it on stage. So
this book is called Fire and Fury.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
And the reason that I think that title is so interesting is because all Trump has given is fire and fury. His supporters, all they have given the world is fire and fury. And out of that fire and fury, there was some violence, and there was a death. You know, and that fire and fury, what's happening, and I say this constantly, grace will eventually stop and karma will take over. And what the world is getting to witness, we did a show called When the World Needed a Mirror the Most. The man has created his own mirror, and it is in a book form of the 200 people on his staff explaining who he is. In they have no reason. They're not from the Liberal Party. They're his staff and his senior staff members. And
I think
the one phrase that every single senior staff member used to explain Donald Trump is that he acts like a child.
We've heard this at the beginning of his presidency too. He's a childlike, or I've heard that. And I've always told Chris, I think that's such an insult to a child.
Yeah.
Because children act out of love.
Yeah.
And all these things, but I understand what they're saying.
Sure.
But it's just
Bannon,
when you call someone a child in a negative way,
sure.
I think it's such a
it's
negative.
an old phrase.
It's an old phrase, but
we can switch it.
I just think it's something interesting
respect.
to think about. But what is
Katie Walsh? Who this was the final one I wanted to. She was the deputy chief of staff, meaning she ran the show. Her name is Katie Walsh. I don't know her, but from what I gather, she was there for a couple of months, and she was one of the first ones to leave. And her explanation of Trump is like trying to figure out what a kid wants. And, you know, go ahead.
But by you saying all this, I think what stuck out the most to me is when the world needed a mirror, and we did a whole episode on that, as we've already said. So all these phrases, as negative as they may be, the world needed a mirror. Like attracts like, and I know that's...
Yeah, my final question was,
and it's just an observation.
Yeah, it's a complete observation, but if you squashed all of those things together, you know, all of those things I just said, you basically come up with fucking moron. That's the description. And my question, you know, it's whatever's going to happen to him is going to happen. My question is, what about the people that voted for this guy? That's where I'm focusing my attention.
It's part of this I don't know why I said grand, but this awakening that's happening. We've talked about this. This has to happen so people see.
Like attracts like means that
route.
His own staff call him a fucking moron, and a large portion of the world, of the United States, elected this man. And there are people, and there's another thing. If that was your vibe and you were a part of that, own that shit. Own it and hold on. You created this.
That's the whole thing about this whole thing. Everyone's like, oh my God. But we've talked about this before. No matter what political party you're a part of, all wings on the same bird. That Native American quote I love.
Yeah.
The left and right wing. The left wing and right wing are all part of the same bird. They're all part of the whole.
Yeah.
And it's not about that. It's that labeling and separation.
Yeah.
And so this is caused by everyone projecting negatively, projecting this to happen, so it's happened. And so it's really starting to come to a head now, and the shift is here. I mean, you can feel it.
Yeah.
So
and everything I just said, it hurts to say, because ultimately he's in charge of the United States of America. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying.
There's like 100 levels above him.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just saying he's a representative
of the American people.
Of the majority of the American people. And my hope is that they see themselves in him.
You know what? I had a random thought today. When people say, not my president, it's never... I don't get how anyone can be your president anyways. Like, that throws me off. I thought about that phrase. I just think it's kind of bizarre.
Well,
like
no,
no one's in charge of me.
You're right, but
So-
no, people live by
I just
that.
thought that was interesting.
People want to be told.
What to do.
People want to be told what to do.
Either because of the easy way out or they're terrified to look at themselves, I think.
Sure, yeah. Both of those things are...
But what mean, yeah.
Anyways, that was a tough one to cover, but that's going to be a good
You
book.
just, you felt like you needed to talk about it.
I felt like it needed to... I think people, and especially of the conservative type, who represent this man, read that book. Read that book, and...
There's no way people are going to be reading that book if they are a supporter. They think
why
it's
not?
phony.
Why not? It is... that's...
In my opinion, I don't know.
I'm just saying that's just...
It's going to be interesting how it plays
Yeah,
out.
my hope is that the world that put him in the place that he's in sees themselves and kind of goes through a growth and then kind of leaves that.
I think that's so important. No one wants to take blame, but it's everybody.
Sure.
It's the projection. The world is the way it is because of you project your own reality.
Yeah,
you're in whatever situation you're in because of you. The world's in the situation it is because of us.
Because of us, yeah.
And it's
but at the same time we're writing it.
Yeah. At the same time
we have divine. There's some
guidance.
Divinity happening that universe going to do what it's going to do, and then karma, unfortunately.
And I heard how there's like snow cyclones happening on the East Coast.
Yeah.
It's like Mother Earth is still angry.
Yeah,
folks.
well, no, yeah, she's shaking some. She is.
It all fits together if you
Yeah.
can stand back and look at everything, and unattach yourself from the media and what's really going on, but still be aware of it because again, we observe this, or I've seen how Chris observes it. And I'm starting to learn that it is just an observation of human interest.
Yeah.
It's what's really going on in the world. So
It is the human condition, and
Yeah.
and they have top seat right now.
it shows ego, it shows the selfless route, the selfish route, it shows everything all in one. We can watch it. It's like, we hate to say it, but Chris says it all the time, and I completely agree. It's like, where's the popcorn? And you sit back and you go, you gotta
that's
just
all you
watch.
can do is just kind of watch it and go,
And do your
"Oh."
part and create your
Yeah.
own world, I think.
Yeah, and in the meantime, carve your own sector of the world and create, just like you just said, project. You don't have that fear because you're not
project the
hanging on
fear.
to it. You don't have any, and yet you're projecting your world
Yeah.
onto the world, and it's not fighting the system. You're building anew.
Beautifully said.
I didn't say that. I think it was Buckmeister.
I don't know.
Buckmeister Fuller.
But it's just still interesting to be aware of like the fear mongering that goes on. I saw a newspaper article, or like as I was walking in the gas station, ISIS is everywhere, even your neighbors, and they're born in America. I'm like,
Holy shit, man!
It's just like, stop. So if you're aware of the system trying to scare you constantly into fear and debilitate you, not to carve your own path like we talked about, and realize your self-power to create a better world, and yes, currently the system we have a president, project someone who's there for the people, and who's selfless as best as he can be or she can be in that system that's in place.
Yeah,
that's all you can
Isn't
hope
the
for.
Constitution say something about for the people, by the people?
Yeah. But it'll be really interesting.
I
to
wish
see
he
what's
would
going
have
on.
continued to learn about it.
It'll be really
That
interesting.
was funny.
It'll be interesting to see.
Good job, Chris.
Okay, move on. Interesting to see what happens, but just step back and don't let go or be dragged.
Yep.
Don't attach yourself too much to what's about to happen because it's big. There's a lot. Depending on
But watch it. I
Depending
think
on
it's
how
going to be
deep you
interesting.
deep for news sources, what's considered conspiracy, which to me is very just truth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big things happening, and it's going to shock the world, so it'll be interesting.
Like me? No, I'm just playing.
What?
You said a lot of big things happening. I was like me? So,
There's full of them today. Okay.
shout out to California for legalizing cannabis for recreational purposes. Because Jeff Sessions is pissed off right now. And you hear how the Republicans want him to step aside, but the Democrats want him to stay? I was like, what?
But they're all playing games.
It's so weird, but it's so cool. But he's pissed, and but
we're past this politics stuff. I want to talk about the life.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about this understanding of life.
There's absolute no way to segue over to life. Actually, there is. Understanding life. I had this understanding, and it took me a couple of days. Sometimes they're like, whoa. But this understanding, I always say that I like to funnel things down to the simplest form. Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is normally the right answer. And so my understanding of life, and this is simply mine, goes as follows. The yin and yang concept of the beginning. I think you have nothing, and I think the yang part, that's yin, and you have the yang part, which is existence. I think is the first part of life. I think the second part of life would be the universe, the omniverse, the multiverses, creation, etc. The third part of life I like to call meaning. And so basically this is how I perceive it. You've got three parts of life: existence, the universe, creation, omniverse, and meaning. So, life equals existence. Think about existence real quick. There's nothing, and there's existence. Think about existing. Like, we exist. There's this thing, the land of is, that's here, existing. In my humble opinion, existence is what people call God. Existence is what people call God. It's the whole.
Well, everything's energy, though. Like everything, right. And we've put these words as labels, so but it's like
the label that I know is existence. So I feel what existence means to me. Like there's nothing before you were born, and all of a sudden you exist. Your higher self, you exist. You exist in human form. And that existence to me is what people like to call God. It is the existence of the whole. I was
going to say really quick though, my question is if you don't mind.
Sure.
When you say nothing existed before you were born, however, your higher self's there, your soul is there, so truly you've always existed.
Sure.
If you have that.
I'm saying in physical form.
Or if you have that, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, but in physical form. Okay.
Yeah, in physical form. So you're existing in physical form. Prior to that, you're existing in your existence.
Did you look up like exactly what the definition of existence is?
No. This is all based on a feeling.
Okay, I was just curious. Here, watch it.
Oh, sorry. So
you have existence.
Yeah, the second part of this is the universe and creation. I feel that it wasn't created necessarily. I feel that it is an inevitable happening with existence. I feel like everything here it's just inevitable that it happened the way that it did.
Well, do you believe that everything came from a thought, and if so, then it is just inevitable.
Right. Like we talk about all the time, that the
if we can create
existence, did the creator have an awakening and want to experience itself in existence? I mean, this is one of those things. You're gonna, it makes sense to me, and I don't explain.
Well, what I think is so interesting, again, personal experience, just a thought I had, is
sure.
If Chris would have talked about this, like when we first met, which was probably about 2.5 years ago,
mm-hmm.
I was terrified. Like this could be a scary topic to people because thinking about your own existence, at least for me, used to cause fear.
I
had
to
this
get
fear.
Terrified.
Like, he'd mention space, and I'd be like, space is
Don't,
infinite.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. So it may be stirring some feelings up for people like that. But there's a reason I think you're talking about it. I think it's important to just, when you're sitting there pondering or meditating, this is something to meditate on.
Yeah. Do you know what art is, honey?
What?
Anything that evokes emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is my form of art that I'm I explore consciousness. That's my kind of art form that I want to. This is the reason I do these videos with you and the Son family. This is who we are. This is our art form.
Raising awareness for awareness.
Yeah, raising awareness for awareness. So.
I just wanted to mention that because I think this brings up a lot of like, this makes no sense.
Sure.
Are you crazy? What are you talking about? Or that's interesting. Or even fear. It can bring up all types of emotions because this is something that I don't think many people stop and think about. I know I really didn't up until recently. Like, why am I here? What is it? What is this? What is this? What is
existence? I
like,
mean, just to ponder the word existence, you won't be able to sleep for a couple of days.
Okay, so we talked about existence.
And then
the universe,
the omniverse, the whole everything. The inevitable. Yeah, I feel it's just an inevitable happening.
It's a manifestation
of that whole, that existence that people call God. And the third part of life is meaning. And meaning is simply what you make of life.
And I've heard many different...
What's the meaning of life? It's what the fuck you make it.
Yeah.
That is it.
And you'll hear many people say, well, there is no meaning to life. You're just here. And to me, we talked about this, I think, last episode. What is that like, just to float without purpose in a way?
Sure.
It's just something that our individual purposes has given our life meaning. Yeah. Our child has given our life meaning. Yeah. There's things that give
food.
Life meaning. Yeah, food. Whatever you're passionate about gives life meaning. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's a big part.
Yeah, so there would be existence, then the universe, existence, the universe, creation, the omniverse. And the third part being what is the meaning. So next time somebody says, how's life? A real cool answer to give them is say, you want to talk about existence, the universe, the omniverse, or you want to talk about the meaning of life? And they'll check them. They'll be like, all right. So anyways, that is it for tonight. Those are two things that I really wanted to talk about. I'm excited to see how the material world's going to shake out here. Just because it's interesting, and I'll call you back, Mark Cuban, for show times. And what else, Cassie?
I think that's about it.
All right. Hold on, I've always wanted to do this. Oh yeah, wait.
Chris made a really interesting observation, and again, maybe I am poking fun, but hey, we like to have fun too sometimes.
Yeah, I just simply,
So
I
if
messaged...
you're not familiar with He-Man, this is Skeletor and Hordak.
Hordak is the evil villain on She-Ra, and here, let me see.
I gave him hair.
And so I was just kind of observing today that Donald Trump and the Bannon feud remind me of the episode where Skeletor and Hordak threw down.
So anyways, that was just funny,
done, yeah. So anyways, I've always wanted to do this.
It was an interesting conversation, something a little different, but we'll be back probably tomorrow or the next day, or you'll be seeing us soon. So thanks for watching.
Who am I? I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not.